what you have written on the back of this frame.
Yeah?
I gave his ring and all his letters to his mother
Yeah?
in August 1945 when I married Dr. Porter Cole.
That's my husband, yeah?
Karel was a nice man, a gentle person, terrific piano player, and this is something about a dancer.
Yeah, he was a dancer.
A studied dancer. Is that correct? No.
Well, I don't
No,
know.
what does it say?
He was a very good dancer.
What did he study?
No, he studied law.
Oh, law, that's what it says, right.
Indonesian law. You can study that in Holland and then go to Indonesia and be lawyer, you see.
Right.
Because we were going to, I was from the colonies and I told him often about, you know, the colonies. And so we were going to settle in Indonesia. Of course, it never happened. I settled here in this house.
So
But you see, what I'm telling you said that he was a terrific dancer because an educated man in Holland and not in England and not in in America, an educated man doesn't know how to dance. In Holland, an educated man, a man who went to the gymnasium and the Real School and so, had dancing lessons. His parents paid for him to know how to dance because when they go to these parties, the dances, you know how to dance. In this country they don't, and in this country they are taught how to play football.
Can I ask you something? When you when you married Porter,
Yeah.
Did you know at the time about his fate? Did you know that he had died
Perished?
in Paris?
Yeah.
Yes. So how early did?
Because otherwise, I was thinking he was going to come back someday. You see, because I do know when I married Porter, and I think his father visited. By that time, my father had come back from Indonesia. His father visited. Maybe his mother to my parents and on the tabakswal and heard that I had married Porter because I married him the 8th of August or the 8th of August. So, and then he was very upset, the father. He walked in my parlor of my parents, that house in Tabakswal, and said, well, I hope that if Karel ever comes back, he will never get to know that he heard about that I married him, because I don't know why the father said that, because, well, maybe because I was a Canadian or an American, and of course I would come to live in this country, in this world, part of the world. But my mother said, she sat in her chair and froze. She froze and she said to herself, oh God, man, do you know what you are saying? Because nobody knew if he was alive or not, you know, at that date. And so my mother was horrified that he said that. He walked around in that room and said, oh, I hope that Karel will never get to know that that Dodi married this Canadian. Everybody thought he was a Canadian. It wasn't till much later I discovered that he was American.
So from what I hear you say, at the time when you married Porter, nobody knew about...
He was dead.
You only knew he was missing. Karel
that he hadn't come back from Germany.
Right, Karel was missing. Nobody knew exactly what had happened. Because it was too early after the war.
Yeah.
The camps had not been properly looked at.
No, and the lists, because the Germans kept records, and that's what we know now about Karel is because of the lists and Dachau and Flossenburg, because when he left Dachau, they must have written that down, that he left for Flossenburg.
So, is it fair to say that when you married, you had given up hope that he might return, or?
No, I hadn't given up hope. I thought he might, for many years, even now sometimes I think he might come back, because his body was never found. Maybe he's in a prison camp somewhere in Russia, who knows? His body was never found. Of course it wasn't found, because later, much later date, I heard that the Germans blew up the mountains around Flossenburg and they all caved in, and his body is with many others bodies under 3,000 feet of rubble, of rocks and whatnot. That's what his father told me later.
So let me phrase it differently. You hadn't given up hope that he might return, but you had given up on the relationship to him, because otherwise you would not have married a different person.
Yeah, I had given up because if he was alive, I would have heard of him by then.
So did you basically resign yourself?
No, I didn't resign.
No, but what happened inside of you that you?
No, just to be sure. Yeah, I thought that he never would come back. Once I knew that he'd been in Dachau and Flossenburg, but don't forget that at that time I didn't know about Dachau and Flossenburg.
Right.
That's much later.
No. What you knew at the time, I understand, was he was just gone.
Because so many others had come back. His brothers had come back. They were in Auschwitz, one of those camps in Poland. Both his brothers came back. He had an older brother called Kees. He was, or maybe still is alive, a dentist in Holland. My sister knows about him because one of his sons became a famous actor.
But maybe
I had given up hope.
Yes,
but not even I would have married Peter, because I thought if he ever comes back, I wouldn't marry him. There was too much time gone by. And I had in the meantime fallen in love with Peter. I would have explained it to him. You were not around. And I had lived with Peter. I mean, I had full sexual relationship with him. I never had really any very deep sexual, we felt each other through the clothes. But I never had sexual intercourse with Karel. Never. I was, what you call that in, I don't know what's in German, and even in English, and I was what you call kuis. Kuis is a word, I don't know how to translate that in English. Kuis, my sister always was kuis. She said she always was kuis. She didn't have sex with her husband before marriage. But I had never had sex with Karel, you see. I was in all these engagements and we took long walks and we kissed and necked all that. But I never had sexual intercourse with him. I just felt his penis sometimes, rubbing against my leg or two. No, and by that time, when I accepted that he was maybe not alive or ever would come back, I had sex with Peter. I was constantly worried I would get pregnant. I had lived with the man for many months, this Canadian, and I didn't know he was American, but I knew if he would come back, I would explain it to him, and he would have understood. He certainly was handsome enough and nice enough immediately to find another girl. I wasn't worried about that. No.
Okay.
I mean, in war, you have to grab. Don't forget, I could be dead the next day, and I wanted to And so could Peter. So, you know, the war still going on when we met. I think we met in March of that year, is that year, 45, in the year my brother died. A month after he died,
late April, huh?
He died in April 15th. No,
no.
My brother died in March.
But the Canadians liberated Deventer in April.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the next month.
Yes. Yeah.